Hi guys, I hope all is well. Chamion here. I am going to be doing a pastry, very simple pastry though for you guys, okay? You all know I keep things simple for you all, and pastry is hard work, right? So I'm going to keep it really simple, follow through, and we should have the same results, right? For this recipe of this easy pastry, you will need 3 cups of all-purpose flour, which is what I have in my measuring cup there. Remember, baking is a science, so measure everything properly. When we're talking cups in the baking world and cooking world, we are referring to these, not your just average cup that you're drinking and you just say, this is a cup. No, I have said time and time again, and I want to say, if you don't own a measuring set just yet, I will highly recommend that you invest in one. They are not costly. Invest in them. They are very necessary, right? Tools is a big part of end results in cooking or any trade. So invest in them. If you don't own one of these, what the Americans will call a mug, or what we will call in Trinidad here a teacup, a standard size teacup, not the over big ones or the too small ones, is equivalent to 1 cup. It is the equivalent to a cup, okay? So I'm getting into what you will need for this pastry recipe, right? Which is 3 cups of all-purpose flour, a pinch of salt. I already put it in my flour because I will be sifting it all together. Half brick of butter, right? And a quarter brick of cooking butter. So that's a quarter, right? It's marked out on the paper, right guys? So there is nothing to be alarmed about. Okay, let me make it easier for you all. Some persons not into the maths. So when you buy this whole butter now, to get a quarter of it, you're gonna cut it in half, and then you're gonna cut that half in half. That's your quarter there. Understood? Right. And 5 tablespoons of cold water. You watch what I'm doing, and we will go. I will show you all how it's done. But when you are working pastry, you have to move very quickly. You see there is ice in my water. Have to be extremely cold water, and my bowl of butter was refrigerated in the bowl to keep the temperature. It's best not to work with pastry on a hot day. I have my sifter here. If you don't own one of this sieve, or what we call in Trinidad a strainer, does the same thing, right? I just wanted to cover that with you all quickly. So move quickly when you are dealing with pastry, right? My sifter is a 5 cup sifter. Makes life very easy. It's going by so fast it isn't even funny. You should be able to find one of these sifters at some of your high-end kitchen stores that sell dishes and wares and so forth, right? Right, so okay, so I'm going to put in the butter now, right? Sifting just makes it light and airy. I have a dough kneader, right? Majority of you might not own a dough kneader, right? If you want to know, it's really 4 ounces of butter on your ounce scale, 4 ounces of each. So combine it will be 8, right? I'm trying to give you all accurate math, so that's why sometimes I'm a bit delayed when I'm speaking to you all, because I always want to give accurate math. So I've added the butter to the flour. This is a dough kneader, right, or dough blender. If you don't have that, this is a dough kneader or dough blender. If you don't have this is also very readily available at any home store. If you don't have it, use a fork. Let me just show you all a demo with what the fork does before I use my kneader, right? For those of you that don't have it, it's doing the same thing. Watch, right? See, it's coming through. That's what the kneader does also, right? I needed to show you guys that. Right, so I'm going to use my needle now. You don't want it to get too fine like breadcrumbs. That's not the goal. It's not for this, right? Just you want it to just somewhat be incorporated a bit. Just take your hand and gently remove your butter, right? This demo is a requested demo. Had a couple of requests for it. Some of my subscribers and my followers on the Facebook page, they are going to be thrilled. They've been waiting for this. But I wanted to put out an easy pastry recipe for you all, because pastry is a very complicated thing. Yes, it is. Imagine being a pastry chef is a job all by itself, and it's for good. It's for good reasons, okay? So now I'm going to add my 5 tablespoons of water. I'm going to use a spatula to mix this. If you don't own a spatula, use a spoon. 5 tablespoons of ice cold water. There is also ice inside of here, right? One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? If you need more, you know what to do. For my international friends, if you are wondering what is that cookie that I refer to, you will call that Crisco, right? Or whichever other brand you have of pastry butter. The 5 was not enough. It was not enough, so I'm going in with some more. I put 2 additional, okay? I want to touch my pastry at this stage. It's very cold, which is what you want. I want to touch it because I want to make sure that it's not I'm going to add some more again. You all know I fine-tune things for you all, right? You all know I'm real with you all. So if ever I'm using a recipe and it isn't mine, I will always move to suit, and I will be the one telling you all how to go. But baking is a science or formula, right? You still need a bit more because as you can see, it's not incorporated as yet. So I will tell you all exactly how much I use, right? That's why I had to give up on the spatula to get it under my hand movement to know what's happening. Right? I had to do that. Would you guys believe that this recipe I'm using called for only 5 tablespoons of ice cold water? But actually, it probably needs like about 15. So I want you all to understand that a lot of times when you have bad results from recipes, it's not your fault. You all need to understand that. Someone needed to say that to some of you all. Sometimes it's not your fault, because you are just simply following what they said to do, and a lot of times these recipes are inaccurate and incorrect. I've said this in a previous demo, right? I've said it. If you are familiar with my demo, you'll hear me always speak about things like these, right? At this stage, I'm right where I need to be, so I won't be adding any more water. So they said the recipe called for 5 tablespoons of ice cold water. In reality, we needed 15 tablespoons of water. 15 tablespoons. Now you could imagine someone trying to make this recipe using just that amount of water and realizing something isn't right. And the person that don't have any cooking experience at all or baking experience thinking, okay, this is what they said, and they try to bake it and end up in some issue. I'm going to put just a little bit more. I will say probably about a half tablespoon. Because whenever you are working with any dough, you want to see your bowl clean, right? So we now have this dough that we can work with after 15 and some tablespoons of water. Forget how messy bowl is looking. I'm going to go and we'll put it on my floured surface now. Pastry must go through a procedure where it's well mixed and folded. It must go through that, right? You guys see, and you all will appreciate why I'm real with you all. Imagine if someone asked me for a recipe for pastry and I gave them that and told them just use 5 tablespoons and they realize something is wrong and I'm unable to see what's wrong, to tell them how many tablespoons of water additional to add, what they would have been dealing with. And I hate food to go to waste, so sometimes when you do things like this and you realize something is wrong, you have to just throw away these ingredients, right? So you all see how sometimes these books and so forth, some of them, I'm not bringing on anybody, I'm not calling any book name or such, realize I'm staying clear of it. And sometimes they are very inaccurate recipes. Sometimes I'm very inaccurate. Not I, but sometimes, forgive me, I was trying to multitask there for a second. Sometimes these recipes are very inaccurate. Yeah, it happens. And sometimes people think, you know, it's their fault. And sometimes it's not their fault. Because remember, this is a recipe that was printed. And a lot of persons will have accessed this recipe and it's very inaccurate. Very, very inaccurate. And time and time again, I see it happening. Right? I know what I need to do for you guys. Right? I'll keep it as a little surprise, but I know what I need to do to fix some of the issues. My followers and subscribers and people that follow me cooking, I know what I'll have to do for you all. But I'll keep that a surprise to now, right? So you're going to have to stay the course to see that surprise. I'm not speaking about a surprise on this demo though, please. I'm speaking about a surprise that I will do in the future for you guys, because the confusion that's out there with some of these cookbooks and so forth isn't easy, right? So you all see how our dough is in the form of a dough. I'm just going to roll it out, right? You see all the nice butter coming through. So guys, you see the butter coming through. Like I said, I have it on, make sure your surface is heavily floured, okay? Your rolling pin, the rolling pin that I have it a number of years. It's great for pastry, keeps temperature. If I put it in the refrigerator, it's going to stay cool. But it also, the flour and so forth don't stay on it, right? You know, sometimes you wouldn't want be able to hold a bit of flour, no, right? So I'm just going to show you all how you should roll out pastry. You don't ever roll it in a circle, okay? So you give it a roll like this. For those of you that are wondering, that you know that pastry usually contains lime. Some of them don't. Some ask for vinegar in place of lime and so forth, right? Don't be alarmed. What gives pastry action is the butter, the cold butter, right? You are seeing even bits of the butter now. We're gonna zoom in. You are seeing right here I have some pieces of the butter, and that's what makes it really nice, right? Remember to use ice cold water, please. Remember to use ice cold water, right? So now I'm going to give it a fold. This is a bench knife. For those of you that don't know, it will be called different names at different times depending on, you know, where you are in the world and so forth, but it's more professionally known as a bench knife. So you want to take your pastry. It's a very important tool for pastry making, right? It helps a lot. So, right? I'm not saying you need it. If you don't and you have a big knife or a chopper, go ahead and use that, right? Why we love it, why it's a beloved pastry tool is because it helps us to keep our pastry edges in nice parts. I'm going to cut it in half. And just put it on top of each other, okay? And we're gonna get it into the refrigerator. Right? So this is why we love our bench knife when we are making pastries, because it just helps us to keep everything organized. You just give it a gentle knock. If you look at the pastry, you are seeing all the folds, which is what you want to see, and that's why it's very important to give your pastry that fold that I did. Right? Some recipes call for you to do different things with the pastry, but let's stay focused on this. I don't want to confuse you all, right? So get a clean Ziploc bag, or if you have cling wrap, you're going to have to seal it tight with your cling wrap if you are going to use that, okay? This is going to be a lot of pastries, 3 cups of flour, right? Seal it, and it's going to go into the refrigerator. So guys, I'm putting it into my refrigerator. You see where the temperature is at. We are having a hot day, but it's good temperature right now, and it's digitally displayed. So I'm just going to put it into the refrigerator, right? And leave it for about an hour before I do anything to it. Right? The freezer part of my refrigerator, it isn't crammed with any goods, which is good. It's going to be colder faster. Also, the baking tray is already in there, right? The baking tray is already in there. Good tip also. And at this moment, I'm on the baking tray. I'm going to put my rolling pin to chill also, because we are having quite a warm day. One of the tips with pastries is to work when it's not hot. But when you live in the tropic, that's almost near impossible, because that's the weather that we have a lot, right? So that's it, guys, and I will show you all. Of course, when I'm rolling it out again before baking and so forth, right? But remember, the goal is to keep it cold and to keep everything for it cold, okay? All right, guys. So guys, our pastry, it's been resting for about 40 minutes to an hour, right, in the freezer of my refrigerator. You all remember I showed you all that? Yeah. And now it's time to, it's just pretty. The butter has such a pretty color. This is cold also. I showed you all that this was also being kept in the freezer, right? And we are just going to roll out the pastry. Right? I want to talk about the amount of water that was needed, right? Just please let me talk about that for just a bit with you all. It's equivalent to 2 cups of water, the 15 tablespoons. But I'll tell you all right now what I always tell you all. Please don't add all of that at once, right? Add it tablespoon by tablespoon, and it must be ice cold water, right? Remember I told you all, right? Sometimes authors and persons that write recipes, I don't know if they put it through a period of testing to make sure it's accurate. I'm not sure about that, because sometimes when you really try doing it yourself, you realize that you run into issues with it, right? You see, recipes, you want to make sure that it's foolproof in order to release it to persons so that they can have perfection results. You can't just make something or just get an idea in your head and say, okay, I'm going to write a book or I'm going to write a recipe. No, it's something you would have wanted to try. Make sure it's tried, tested and true, so to speak, before you put it out there. Because sometimes a bad cook isn't a bad cook, you know. Sometimes a person get a bad recipe. Yeah, I'm sure you all could agree, even now. Sometimes it's a bad recipe and not a bad cook. Right. So the key with it is to make sure, after I roll it out here, I'm just going to cut it in strips. I'm not going to fill it or anything, right? Because remember, this is just a rough demonstration for you guys, right? So the key with it is to make sure your pastry isn't rolled out too thin and that your oven is super hot, right? In order for your dough to behave the way pastry should. Those are the 2 key factors. Like I said at the start of the demo, they will suggest that we don't ever bake when it's hot, right? Because of the temperature that it drops very quickly, rapidly. But in Trinidad here, that's the only weather we have for a couple months. Well, extreme heat. So it would be like saying, don't bake at all when it's hot, which is like for 6 months, right? And that would not be, that is not practical, right? Because life goes on, life happens, so we have to continue. So I'm just cutting it for fillers. This can be filled, with anything. Your desire is what it can be filled with. If you want cheese, so whatever you desire to fill it with is what you're going to fill it with, whether cheese, potato, veg, chicken, fish, even we call here locally currants roll. It's your choice, right? So I'm just going to egg wash it now. This is a mixture of about a tablespoon of water and 1 egg beaten. Beat it like a lot. This went back in the refrigerator. You all would not have seen that, but it went back in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes prior to me egg washing it, right? Remember all these tips that I'm giving you all, and please follow through with it. Pastry is not something that we can skip or cut corners, so to speak, with. We have to follow through and through and through. This is really the scientific part of baking. This thing right here, pastry, right? So you all saw all that I did. I'm hoping that you all try it. This is a requested demo also. This is like a triple requested demo, if not quadruple, because we had a lot of persons just requesting it over and over again, and because I was working, move fast when you are dealing with pastry, because you don't want the temperature to drop, okay? Because I was working to get the easiest pastry method for you all. It took some time, right? That's all. It doesn't matter if some get on your parchment paper, and I didn't mention it's parchment paper. Sometimes I use the bleach one. Today I'm just using regular parchment paper. You'll get it at any supermarket. It's not grease proof, it's parchment paper. At any supermarket or home store. You can also use wax paper too, right? If you want and it's all you have, you can use aluminum foil, right? But I would suggest using your baking paper, and the good thing with the parchment paper is it comes pre-cut, okay? Right, so it's gonna go down to bake. I'm just gonna top it with a bit of poppy seeds. Only half of it I'll top. Sesame seeds. Why did I say poppy seed? Yeah, so I'm just gonna top it with a bit of sesame. I'm saying it again. A bit of sesame seeds. Right? No reason, just try to look cute, fancy, you know. I'm just gonna do 3 with it and leave 3 without, okay? We're gonna bake it, don't trouble it. I don't like to say time and so forth for oven, because that varies by whether it is gas or electric and the age and model of your oven. So I always stay clear of that, okay? But I'll always say, like I always say, don't just put things to bake or cook and walk away. Monitor it heavily, okay? And this isn't gonna take long to go by, right? So of course I'll show you all the perfection that we have at the end. Make sure your oven is extremely hot. 2 tips for baking pastries. You want to work in cool conditions. Your butter must be extremely cold. We'll make that 3 tips. And your oven must be very hot, right? And don't put it on the bottom shelf closest to the heat. Put it on like the upper rack or shelf of your oven, okay? Because you don't want the underneath to become too discolored and burnt. So guys, we have reached the conclusion of our pastry demo. Very easy pastry demo. You all know I spoke about adjusting the water. I said it at the beginning. It's just our sesame seeds that you are seeing. It's just brilliant on there, right? The pastry is baked to perfection. It looks just lovely by the way. And this is what we want, right? And I believe you all could try it. It's so easy. It's just lovely. If you look, you're gonna see the layers from a side angle of the pastry. It literally did come up. Let's keep in mind, it's just the shell of the pastry. There is no filling whatsoever inside of that pastry. But yeah, this is what we accomplish, right? Guys, just follow through. Right, today is somewhat hot in Trinidad, and yet I was able to accomplish it. It isn't somewhat hot, it is very hot. But you all will remember I showed you the temperature of my freezer, which is where it was kept, and after I roll it out, I said that it went back into there and so forth. I want you all to follow through with T, everything that I did in demo. You want to have the same results, right? When you do, please comment below. Let me know how it turns out. If you are following me on any social media, on the business page, anywhere, send me a photo. I want to see what you guys accomplish following this pastry demo. Right? I cover the water measurement for you all also. Please remember all of that. Take note of what I said, and you all see I didn't edit out anything, because I always tell you all I'm a real cook and I show you all real life as it happens in my kitchen. I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not, right? This is not some show where I come and I put on a show for you guys. I cook for real. I cook for real, right? And I worked a long time on this recipe to accomplish this. I couldn't imagine if it was the wet season, the rainy season, or if it was cooler, right? I would have had more puffing up. I couldn't imagine if it stayed for a longer period of time. As I'm speaking about longer period of time, this can be refrigerated easily in your freezer for up to 2 weeks. Right? Just make sure it drops somewhat defrost or thaw before you use it. Right, guys? As always, the pleasure is my own. You all don't know how much I love cooking, and I am happy that I am so well received and loved by you all. I thank you all for all your comments, all your encouragement, all your love, all your everything, all your sharing. I just thank you all for it. Right? I really mean that. You all will never know what you all mean to me. Right? And I mean that. To my subscribers, all of you, I thank you all, and keep looking, keep watching, because there's a lot to come. Right? So guys, you all know the business is all over social media. You all know we are all under one name on social media, which is Food by Chamion. If it's the first time you're coming across this demo, my first name is spelled Chamion. It is pronounced Chamion, right? And we are all over social media. Like I said, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and of course we are on YouTube, the channel. And also, if you want to come into direct contact with me, when I say direct, I mean like privately, you want to speak with me about things relating to food. If you are somewhat shy or intimidated, you can do so at this email address, which is foodbychamion@gmail.com, or come on, let us. Guys, the pleasure was my own. Until I'm with you all, bye, and thanks for watching.